All right,
And we are recording.
and we're live. So thanks everybody for joining this latest Tableau CRM meetup. This is a long-running series. How many of these have there been, Saintani, to your knowledge?
In this July, we will be having our second anniversary. So almost 2 years.
Nice. Yeah, so it's a really great opportunity for everyone to get together and share tips and tricks and best practices. I'm Todd Brendel, I'm the VP of Product at Gobi. We are heavy users of Tableau CRM to run all sorts of dashboards and analytics around sustainability data. So we do a lot of stuff with utility data, electricity, gas, water, and then roll those up into sustainability reports for stuff like your carbon emissions and your GHG emissions, and are you meeting your obligations as far as reducing your usage. So that's primarily how we use the platform. We use it for a whole bunch of other stuff. Saintani is our internal whiz, joined by Annie on the call today, who is one of Saintani's proteges and quickly learning the platform. So yeah, it's a really great opportunity. Again, thanks everybody for joining. Today, it sounds like we're going to be going through some stuff on the TCRM Toolkit with Pedro, and then Geoff is going to show us something coming in summer, correct? Is it the
collections?
Collections, that's right. So always really good topics. I know there's going to be some presentations, but people should always feel free to ask questions or throw stuff in the chat. So just welcome. Glad everyone was able to join.
Thank you, Todd. Pedro, you want to take away?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the opportunity, right, to share this with the community. I start sharing my screen. So, Pete put a video a couple days ago. We did a quick review about this tool I've been putting together. Early stages of development, but I just wanted to put it out there so I can get some feedback, right? Understand what are the things that could help you the most, and I could integrate them in the tool. Like Pete's video started. This is of course not a tool developed by Salesforce. It's just one of the community members that had a couple ideas and scrapped something together, right? And I've been building it for the last couple months. So yeah, if you have any issues, bugs, or whatever, feel free to shoot me a message or create an issue here on GitHub, or reach out on the Slack channel. I'll be happy to connect. All right, so what's this toolkit? Basically, is a interface that will allow you to interact with the API, and it has a bunch of logic on top that will allow you to upload and download data sets and some more tasks, right? But yeah, it depends entirely on the TCRM API to do all those requests, get data, et cetera. I just wanted to go over because there are a couple of dependencies that you need to run this. Of course, you need the CLI installed in your machine. Right now, it only runs on Win 10. I'm gonna work on enable this to run on Mac OS as well, but it takes a little bit of time. So for Win 10, you need a Windows terminal. Here's the link from the Microsoft Store. The command prompt on Windows is very limited, so we need something more powerful. So you need to get that, and you need a visual install as well. So those are the three things that you need to be able to run this tool. And then a little note here on the dates for your CSV files. If you're planning on doing that, uploading CSV files, right now this is the supported format for dates. And then it supports two login methods. Of course, the web login Very simple, straightforward. It will pop up I will show it, but it will pop up a browser. You enter your credentials, log in, you're done. If you want to create let's say a longer term solution, you can go down the connected app route. So you don't have to deal with, those tokens being expired and all of that. So you can get around that using the connected app method. If you go to this link, you'll find the instructions. And here is a small table with some performance testing I did on my virtual machine regarding the extraction. So pretty straightforward. The bigger the data set, the more power you need on your machine, especially RAM. So yeah, all the operations run in memory, so you'll need a lot of RAM to extract huge data sets. So yeah, all these work in progress. I'll publish soon an updated performance chart when I run all of this in a beefier machine with more power.
Pedro, before you
yeah.
go ahead, Matt is asking, does it work on Amazon Workspace?
No. Well, I don't know. You just need a Windows machine. That will be my answer. So if you have a server in AWS that runs Windows 10, you can run it there. But yeah, I haven't done any specific integrations with them. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah. So the thing is, my mindset where, let's say, a business analyst, right? Someone that's going to run some jobs in their machine. Can this scale? Definitely. Equal scale to run on a big server. And I think I mentioned this on Pete's video. Some of these tasks are 100% schedulable. I haven't done it yet, but that's one of my goals, to kind of put a wrapper on top of these some of these functions to say, okay, I want to run this, this backup once a day at midnight, right? And you just leave that open there on your server, and it will run automatically, right? So those are kind of like the long-term ideas that I have, but yeah. All right. So any other questions before I move forward? I just want to go ahead and start showing this. And feel free to interrupt me right in the middle of the questions. Don't wait until then. No, not a problem.
To the workspace question, Geoff and Prabhat have said that if you have Windows admin access on workspace instance, yes. And workspaces are either Linux or Windows. So if you have the Windows flavored Amazon workspace, then sure, it's going to work.
Yeah, sure. So, you can go ahead on GitHub and get the latest release. I downloaded it ahead of time. And, the way I recommend running this, if you double click it, it will pop up on command prompt. If you install Windows Terminal, just can right click inside of the folder and just go ahead and run it. So the first time it runs, it will prompt the login. So it's going to ask you what method you want to use. I'm going to use method 1, which is the web login. And it will open up the browser after, of course, I enter. Right. The other thing you need is the instance ID. Yeah. So the first time you run this and you enter your credentials here, it will ask you to give access to Salesforce CLI. So you need to allow that. And once once that's done, you're in, the app is connected. So this is the first menu. Let's say you have your main 10 options right now. So first four, the basic elements: data sets, dashboards, data flows, and of course, data manager jobs. So those are specific there. Number 5, to create a new data set from a CSV. 6, 7, and 8 are backup functions to do a full backup of all your data flows, dashboards, or XMDs. And then number 9 is just to check the limits of your instance. Number 10, if you want to run the configuration again, the one that we just run at the beginning. So just going to quickly go number 1. This will list all the data sets that you have in your instance. Right, we'll give you the ID, the row count, and the label that you have. From here, you can select the data set that you want to work with. Right, so let's say I have number 2, sample data set I build there. Right, once you select your data set, you'll be on this menu now with data set specific tasks. Right. You can navigate through all the fields, get a summary of all the fields in your data set, what type they are, and all that. So let's say that you have a huge data set with 200 fields. You can quickly export a CSV file with those 3 columns: the API name, the label, and the type. And if I put yes here, I'll get an export of this same table. So I'm going to hit yes to keep working with this data set. Same menu again. Option 2 is if you would like to extract this data set. So I'm going to hit 2. So we'll be pretty quick, just 200,000 rows. All right, there you go. And all of this, builds a folder here, this data set extraction folder. You can see, so this is data set 43 megs, and this is a previous CSV with the columns and the types, right? So, all right, so that's where the data is being stored. So if I go back here, well, you get here a little data sample that you just exported. So yes, so you have more options about like override. So we have about 200,000 rows right now. I can override the data set if I would like. So this will take you through a list of questions to make sure that you have everything in place. So have you placed? I haven't placed. Let me copy this file I have here. So you go here, you have a dataset upload folder. That's where you need to put your file. So let's say yes, place my folder. Yeah, it is a CSV file. I have 100,000 rows in there. And my file name, right? So you will trigger the upload of the file, right? So,
Pedro, quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
What we just did is very similar to the dataset utils. For those who don't know what dataset utils is, we are going to just post the link for that. It's another way of uploading, appending, sending data, deleting, all kinds of dataset things that you can do. So in dataset utils, you have to specify the XMD. Do you have to do the same here?
So no, but if you see the first operation after you enter your file name, it generates the XMD for you. Okay. There are a couple things that I I haven't fully tested it yet. But there are things about the format. So that's why I said that, the only date format that I have right now is this one.
Got it.
Right. And I think the measures are always being formatted as 10:2, if I remember correctly. So yeah, so those are kind of like hard coded right now. Probably, I could make that dynamic or ask the user to what format do you want to give to your dates and measures. But right now it will generate the XMD for you with those parameters. And so you don't have to provide anything. So if I go here, go here to the data manager real quick. So we shall see the upload here. So yeah, it just happened a couple minutes ago, 12:19. Right. So first job, 50,000 rows. Second job, 49.99. All right. So, all right. So here we go. Yes, keep working on this one. So we did an override. We can also do an append, kind of similar operation. We'll ask you same thing. Do you have the data set in place? It's a CSV file, all of that. How many rows? And again, so it's going to be kind of the same. So again, doing an operation. Yeah. So just how it works in the backend, it's just that the difference between override and append. For an override, the first job that the tool sends is an override, and the following ones are just appends, right? But when you're appending, all the jobs are append. That's the only difference between the two operations. So there you go, appended, right? So we can see, okay, here it is, still running. All right, so we have 200,000 rows now. Now, okay, so going down the list of functions here, so we can back up the user XMD for this data set. We can show the version history. So let me do the XMD, and I want to show you something. So number 5, we will export the XMD. Right now that's live. So if I go here, XMD backups, so we have our XMD here. So yeah, all right with that. Okay, so right now it's empty, right? Because it's a brand new data set that we created for this demo. So if I do this now, and this was Pete's idea, number 8 is the XMD cleanup. So this will remove all like underscores and special characters from the names. Like, when you have custom fields and all of that, it will remove all those characters from the XMD or from the labels and give you that cleanup function. And after you do that, it will ask you, do you want to upload this new data set, this new XMD to your data set? So you hit yes, and it will upload that XMD for you. So now if I go back and export the user XMD again, you will see the difference. Right, so full data XMD right now for this. So you have all your dates, your dimensions, measures, full XMD with all the parameters, or with everything in place.
So Pedro, regarding XMD
Yes.
cleanup, this is an awesome tool to start with. We all have troubles with XMD cleaning up. So what happens when you have the relationship names? Does it delete the relationship name?
Well,
say it has account dot something. So will it remove account and just make it name, or will it call it account name?
Right. So it will remove the dot from the name, from the label. I'm sorry. The API name is going to stay the same. So it's not going to break your dashboard. But the label is going to be cleaned up. Yes.
Okay. So it will become account name.
Exactly.
Got
account
it.
space.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So number 6 is just to show the history of the data set. So you can see we have 7 versions. Number 1 is the latest. I think so. Could be. And then number 7. No, I'm sorry. I did it wrong. Number 6 are the versions. Okay. And number 7 is if you have any dependencies, probably, we don't have any right now. But if you had like a data flow or a dashboard, we don't have any dependencies right now. But if you had a dashboard or something, you should get that. I'll probably show it with a different data set. And number 9, of course, delete. So we can delete this one. This is just a demo. But if you have any dependencies, it won't be able to delete your data set, right? Like kind of like the same warning or error that you get in the UI. Like you cannot delete this asset because it's used somewhere else, right? So in this case, I delete it. If I go back and list my data sets, the demo data sets will be gone right now. Right. So if you see here, we don't have it anymore. Right. Let's see if I can show number 16. Just want to show you the dependencies one. So dependency is 7. Yeah, there you go. So it will list all the dependencies for this data set. So the type of dependency, a dashboard, data flow, depending on what you have. All right, so I'll get out of the data set functions. So any other questions so far around these? No, I'll go ahead with the dashboards.
We do have a question. I think this is from Ludmila. Does it list if asset is in private app? Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't tested that yet. So what I'm guessing, because this is based on the user that's logging in. Yeah, that's a good test to run. I haven't tested that yet. Yeah, you could give it a try and let me know. I mean, I'll love some feedback. So, but yeah, I need to try that one. Yes.
So Sergio is asking, does the dependency utility include fields referenced in compute expressions in the data flow? Great question.
Yeah. And the answer is no. I haven't done too much around that yet. I think I exchanged some messages with Pete a while ago, and he said the same thing. If I could do that, I think so. I could do it, but yeah, I haven't developed it yet. It can get very, very complex very quick, but yeah, I have to think about it a little bit more. But right now, it won't do it. Yeah, go ahead.
He says he's going to buy you a case of beers if you can make that possible. We all will.
All right. Awesome.
Does this take into account recipes or data prep 3.0?
Not yet. Basically, my initial plan was to go through the entire API requests, type of requests that you can send to the server and build those. I still have to go through lenses, et cetera, et cetera. So expect, let me go back to the main menu. Expect something like this, right? But for lenses and the other elements, yes. That's my plan, to keep adding those in there. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem. And okay, number 2, quickly here for dashboards. So let's say, let me pick one random, number 2. So it will list all the dashboards that you have in your instance or that you have access to with your user, the user that's logging in. So I'm going to select number 2, and you can look at the data sets that are being used in the dashboard. So, well, right now this one seems to be empty. Yeah, this is a demo org, so I don't have a lot of stuff in here. Number 2, you show the history, but yeah, there are no records available for this dashboard. And number 3 is to download the JSON definition, so you can do a single backup, right, for this dashboard. So it will do this, store it here. So if I go here, get out of this folder, so dashboard backup. So we have Adventure Home. It will give you the JSON definition for this. Right. So there you go. So you will have all your sections here in the JSON. Of course, you are familiar. Yeah, there are no data sets, so that's why I wasn't getting any back. So yeah, probably if I select a different dashboard, I can show you that. So yeah, dashboards, big. So this is the basic out of the box one. So let's do number 4, probably. Prior luck. So data sets. Yeah, there you go. So right now, this only one data set being used here. Let me go back and do the backup. I'm going to do the backup of this dashboard. And yeah, here is, right here. There you go. So you will have all your sections. You're pretty sure you are familiar with the sections of the JSON at this point. So everything is there, your data set, everything. So here's your backup if you want to do a single backup, right, for your dashboard. So those are the last one is delete dashboard. Of course, if you have link between dashboards, you won't be able to delete it. So those are the tasks for dashboards so far. Haven't added more. So for data flows, right, this will list the data flows that you have in your instance. So let's pick number 1. So you can start the data flow, stop the data flow if you started it from here. Number 3 will show the version history, and number 4 will back up the definition of the data flow. So in this case, we have 2 versions, and you can restore it from here. I mentioned this in the video with Pete as well. We have the UI now, so you don't need to do it through here. If you like it, you can do it, but we have it in the UI. I think it's better over there, but if you would like to restore it from here, you can do that. I select number 2. So, do you really want to replace it? Yes, it will replace your version. Okay, so if I go back and look at the version history, now I should have 3 records. There you go. So pretty straightforward, the data flow tasks so far. And number 4 is the backup, the individual backup. So let me do that real quick. get out of here. So data flow backup folder. So you can see, right, well, it's empty, that's why. All right, let me try with another one. Oops, I'm sorry. So let's do number 4. We'll have something to default 4. All right. Okay. Yeah, this is an empty instance, so I don't have anything in there. Let me get out of here. So then number 5 is a function to create a new data set from CSV. So this will take you, again, through a set of questions to make sure that you formatted your CSV correctly. So I'm going to say yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to say yes. We placed it there. Yes, it is a CSV file. And total row count 100,000. And yeah, it's going to ask you about the dates. Yes, they are formatted correctly. And it's going to ask you about the column names, right? You cannot have spaces or any other characters. You can only have underscores. So click yes. Then a file name. Okay. And it's going to ask you for a name for your data set. So Meetup data. You can only use underscores as well. So enter. And yeah, the first operation is the creation of the XMD as well. Same thing that you asked me before. Yeah, it will parse the CSV and all of that and generate the XMD for you. Yeah, right now it's going to perform the upload. Yeah, and of course, all these operations will take more or less time depending on your bandwidth and all of that, right? How big the files are, et cetera, et cetera. So right now it took about 30 seconds to upload that. And here's the job running. Let's leave that running there for a second. And all right, so number 6, 7, and 8. So those are mass backup functions. So pretty straightforward. If I hit 6, right, it will parse all data flows. I'm sorry, and you can see, well, there is one data flow that's empty. There is nothing there, but it backed up all the other 3. So if I go back to my folder, you will see a zip file, right? I open this, it has the date, of course, date and time, and then you have all the 3 the 3 data flows backed up. So here is my definition, right? You have all your notes, et cetera, all in there. But that's the mass backup for data flows. Same thing for dashboards. Right, so 25 dashboards, it will go through all of them and back them up. So same kind of a thing. Here in my dashboard backup folder, you'll find a CSV, a zip file, I'm sorry, with the folder, date and time added, and all your dashboard definitions in there. JSON format, of course. And then the last backup function is XMDs. So same thing. Just choose a number and it will go through all the data sets and get the XMDs.
While this is running, Pedro, did you find a way to reach the dashboard XMD?
So no, you can't. Yeah. Well, at least I haven't found a way. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Geoff,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
know of any way of reaching the dashboard XMD?
Yes, I just need to go take a look at the APIs. I haven't looked at it in at least a couple months.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
We would be interested in knowing the dashboard XMDs because conditional formatting is in the dashboard XMD, right? And anytime you
Okay.
change any name, you have to redo the whole conditional formatting
Right.
again, and it's a pain. So
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. So, all right. So here's the same zip file that, with the date and time added. And that's your mass backup for XMDs. And the last two, the last one is just to check your limits. You'll like to check your instance. It'll give you the total rows available and how much you have used without going to setup and all that. Just can run that and we'll tell you. Yeah, I think so. These, try to go pretty quick through this. So these are all the functions so far I have added. Still working through a couple things on the back end, especially for big machines like CPUs with many cores. I'm having some troubles with that, but I'm still working on that. If let's say that you have a I don't know, 16 core CPU, 24 core CPU, something like that. The big downloads should happen, pretty quick, I will say. The thing is, there is a limit on how many concurrent requests you can send to the server, which is 100. So you can imagine what happened if you trigger 1,000 requests at the same time. I have crashed this instance a couple times, let's say, but I had to put a limit there. You can only have 100 queries, right, running at the same time. So as much power you can have on your computer, you can only send 100 queries. So that will limit the speed of the download for your data sets. So so any other questions?
I don't see anything on the chat yet, but
okay.
Any questions?
Yeah. All right. So
Limits.
feel free.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Evan is asking about the limits.
Yeah. So I have it here open in the tab. So these apply to you, right? When you are uploading, either creating a new data set, appending, overriding, right? These apply. This is the maximum file size, maximum 50 gigs per 24-hour period. So 50 jobs. So let's say I one job is like one operation, right? Let's say I want to override, that's one. Then I want to append, that's another, that's two. And then you do 10 appends, right? Now you are at 12 operations in a day. So you can do max of 50 in a day or 24 hours. So these are regular limits for your data, for your API upload. For the download, I haven't reached any limits yet. And Pete decoded the way it works in a second during the video. Basically, what I'm doing is querying the data set using offset and limits, right? Just a basic SQL query, and putting limits and offsets and then getting the results. And then I just built a big file at the end locally in your computer. So I haven't found any limits doing that so far. So these are the limits for uploads, and those are the I haven't reached any limits on the download yet.
Yeah, Evan says that even he has not reached any limit on the downloads. So
all right, awesome.
Good to know.
Hey, Pedro, do you guys mind if I jump in and ask a question to play on that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure.
Because I work with Evan. Evan's like my resident dev because I don't have time to do such things anymore.
Yeah.
Question is, do you know if these are limits that are shared with your entire organization, or are they separate? Because there's such a fine line these days between what is shared and what is separate, right? So you
Right.
would be using this if 10 other departments are using these limits as well, right?
Yeah. So I think these are I don't know, per instance. That's my guess. I don't have a solid answer.
Unfortunately, Jen, oh my God, this is just, especially at Salesforce, it kills me. Yes, these are for one org, for the entire org.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, like you have to
Jeff,
call.
we need to have a sidebar because this is a future meeting for all of us to have about what do you do with all your data in a mature org. And, I hear what's coming down the pipe at Salesforce, but the reality is we all have to deal with being a traffic controller right now, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Future meeting. Okay, we'll just pencil that in. But I was just curious, Pedro, on this because we do some of this, but we have to communicate with all the other departments about what they're doing.
Right.
Also, we also pull the event logs to check the asynchronous against the bulk API, right? Because the async processes are big at priority. So, I mean, you would want all your quotes to come in because you're trying to put something into EA, right? Or TCRM.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. So yeah, future meeting, but I was just curious if you knew anything more about this.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's brutal. I mean, just something as simple as, I forgot what the new name is, but Einstein reporting insights where you can go and click on analyze. We were limited to something, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm like thinking, I could personally blow through that in one day if I'm testing. And so I'm placing in, cases internally to support to get it pushed up for that day if I need to be testing a lot of things. So.
Oh, we've already done that. We've already broke everything. Like, but that's my specialty is breaking TCRM. So, yeah, now it's more of like we look at the event logs through not like event monitoring, but actually like through the back end, like all day long, because when we want to do something, we have to make sure IT isn't doing like a master, load or pull, or there isn't a heavy day at the end of the quarter with CPQ, right?
Yeah.
And this is something I even had to learn that, quick question, because this plays off again what Pedro is saying. Salesforce is protected by an SLA on this, right? So if you go to Tim on the EA team, or you go to your AE and you say, hey, we're hitting all our limits. Everybody goes, SLA, we can't really help you with that. So I see in the future a need for us all to help each other with how we're solving that problem.
Yeah.
Salesforce is not a data lake, right? It's a transactional system, and a lot of people use it as a data lake. So I imagine as an SE, you are dealing a lot with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing about, gosh, I can't remember our marketing names for, it's Falcon or Hyperforce. That's what it is. Kind of the ability for Salesforce to run on AWS, Google. I think that's really going to open up the door for that scalability. That we were limited in when it was our own data center. I mean, we thought we could scale pretty high until like 5 years ago when they came along, and it's almost like infinite computing power. I still think that we're still going to put governors on it, but I think there'll be more options to put those governors under under settings for admins to be able to self-monitor versus putting it on support to do.
There's going to have to be some kind of traffic control. Yeah. And Pedro, I'm going to cut off your presentation, but this leads into it because, like, let's say you're working with that tool. Where are you storing everything you're doing? Like, let's say you're backing up your data flows, or, there's so many questions, but it's a hot topic right now about And I know everybody's probably looking at little me going, I thought you did data flows. Now I'm all out here in the API, right?
Yeah. So I don't think you should have a problem doing the backups of data flows, dashboards, everything that's JSON, pure JSON. I don't think that will.
They're small files, right?
Well, not just that, because this is just the external data. So this is just when you are uploading stuff, right? You are downloading pieces of information from Salesforce. That's not going to affect these limits. It's not. It's two different things. So you should be fine if you download your data flows, once an hour. But if you upload 10 gigs, every 2 hours, then yeah, you're going to hit your limits.
Like I said, future meeting where we can all talk about traffic control. Because as we all who are working with TCRM, we're becoming data architects, right? Like we're becoming like the control center. Even though we're working in TCRM, it uses these limits all day long. Even if you get your replication running, everything is affecting native Salesforce behind, under the hood, and you won't really know this until you have a problem. So the goal is to figure out how to manage this before you have a problem, and know where to go. Don't be me, who for 3 months had meeting after meeting with Salesforce, all of our people. Evan on here can Evan can vouch for me on this, that doing Salesforce this is not a total tale. I've been doing Salesforce for 20 years. It's the exact same thing as when we started, right? There's a limit to what it can, but when we hit those limits, and I told, executives at our company, like, we've got to get departments together and see what they're doing. Nobody believed me. I had to bring in like experts from sales because they're like, that's not true. Salesforce doesn't have a limit to what we can put in and out of it. I was like, oh my God.
It's a testament to the size and just the number of customers. Because otherwise, like if you think of little old Salesforce 10 years ago, it's not as important. But now, man, they still are kind of finite somewhat, even though we keep expanding. But I really think there's going to be a big opportunity going forward once we migrate off our own data centers. So.
Yeah, and like Pedro's tool, the Mohan C plugin that Ricky promotes, like all these little dev tools.
SFDX, analytics, client, yeah.
Yeah, we've never had to really, most of us just stay in our dashboard and data flow world, and we've never had to worry about that. But if you work for a big company or even a small company that has a lot of data, now you have to know how to do these dev things, right? Because there's no user UI that tells you, hey, guess what? You're like, 10 loads away from your limit, or, whatever it is. You don't know until you're over them. So Pedro, that's like your tool. I can kind of see a next level for you. Like we can delve into some other areas with it. Besides
I would be curious if I can ask, just one of the ways that we try to get around limits is creating a scratch org. Is there any way you could put into the way to do like a metadata sample so that we could have a scratch org to where I'm using my developer account, tapping into limits, sure there's some, but no one else is using orgs in my organization, where I can have like almost a sample from what you're doing right there. Do you see that being something in the future? Did my question make sense?
You cut off a little bit.
Sorry.
I don't. Yeah, sorry. I couldn't understand very well. See.
Pedro, he's asking if we can make scratch orgs, like through, like kind of how you're doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, do SFDX.
So what like SFDX does, but with like a sample of all the data that you have, how quickly you're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there's a way to do that with the SFDX. I was just seeing that the way that you're using this whole entire tool is pretty cool. I played around with it. If there, you would put in that ability for scratch orgs and dev hubs. Just curious.
Yeah, no, I haven't thought about that. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Yeah. Definitely.
If you have all this free time, Pedro, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I
know Jen.
I dedicate. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I know Jen would love you if you could do that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I dedicate just 2 hours, something like that. I mean, every day or less, depending the weekend. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can send me a more detailed explanation, right? What the commands are and what's the idea behind it. Shoot me a message on Slack. I can take a look at it. So Pete sent me the XMD cleanup and I integrated it. So
Seeing that you did that, I was wondering if that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'll show you it on my. It makes sense in my head. Sorry.
And there's some really good things too. Like there's if you see anything that Terry Wilson puts out there in the community, he's kind of our internal expert for all things, CI, CD, DevOps. And one thing I saw too, I just put a link in there to get the GitHub page for force.com for you've got the SFDX, but there's also a plugin for specific to analytics. It's kind of like Pedro light, like really, really light. And so like it's Pedro's tool, and then there's this right now.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. It's like
so I'm gonna call it Pedro light. And so if you click on that link and go maybe like halfway down or 3/4 of the way down, there's a Dreamforce session that I think is pretty interesting on asset version management, because even internally we've gotten to the point. I literally spent way too much time last night. I spent 3 or 4 hours trying to find out who deleted one of my dashboards that I've been using for years, and I couldn't do it. And so I'm like, oh my God, am I really going to have to go? Because I trusted people. I only gave maybe a handful of people editor access in that folder. Maybe they did by accident. Long story short, I'm so like old and Alzheimer's now that it was me. I mean, like I was so mad because this happened to somebody else. They got their stuff deleted. I'm like, who is this? I'm going to spend 4 hours. I'm going to nail that SOB. I'm like, they are not getting editor access, blah, blah, blah. I looked at it and I looked at it in Splunk and checked the log dates. I'm like, oh my God, I'm losing it. Like I renamed the dashboard something so bizarrely opposite. There was no way to but anyways, it made me think, okay, I need to go get all my notes, go back and look and figure out how to do this automated backup.
We're doing all that right now, Geoff. Like that's like, now that I have Evan to work with me, like I said, we all probably need to have a whole nother meeting to go on this topic because I want to be mindful.
Oh my God, I would give it, the whole DevOps, that's huge.
Once we figure it out, we could get in there and see all. I mean, think about it. Our company has over 25,000 employees. We can't manage what people are doing all the time. So, the only way is if we manage EA in or TCRM in TCRM, right? So it's very interesting. But future topics, Sayantani, put a pin in that one.
That would be,
absolutely.
Oh my God, we could geek it out so much. We could have you all show this. Pedro could, mind share, and then Terry Wilson would love to come speak. He's got.
It's because of Terry we're doing this. They threw us a bone.
He's like the only. It's so funny how big the company is. He's like the only one outside of the actual dev team, like in the post. If you look in there in that GitHub, that really is most everybody. Greg Smith came on board the dev team probably 2 or 3 years ago. He's the one that converted everything over to TypeScript, and he's just a super cool guy. He's doing all this kind of outreach for TCRM evangelists on the dev side. Everybody knows Skip Sauls. He works with Skip Sauls. That's all Skip's projects. And then Carrie Hotchkiss, that's on there. She's the one that does all the templates. She creates the framework and does that along with Paul Dreyfus. So that's a fun little repository.
And I want to make a note here because there's probably a lot of people on this call that, believe it or not, I'm not a dev. I just learn how to do dev type things when I need to. But if
you're a dev on call.
I'm a dev on call, right? But for those of you on the call who are not devs, who you're going like, why did I join this call? Like I could never do this. It's really good to understand this, because if you have a dev that you work with, you can articulate the scenario. So this is what I do with Evan, or my manager does. We're like, hey, Evan, can you get in the tool and like your scenario, right? Like somebody deleted a dashboard, or what access does this person have? Or, can you figure out, we found an error on a data flow that we were having to go put in support tickets that Salesforce couldn't see. Like we had to get like 3 errors to pull it. Evan gets right in there and pulls the error for us to tell us it was a ID mismatch or a locked record or, you know, something silly that is easily fixable. But the last time it took us like a week with support to even get somebody to look under the hood for us. So
it's so important.
Everybody knows this is available to like the average person, as long as you have somebody that knows how to like use a command line interface, right?
Also, if I can say it, having Jen on my team makes my job a lot easier. A young lady with 20 years of Salesforce experience to kind of like guide me.
She's
So
to go to.
she is amazing. So
yeah. And it's true.
Everybody should strive through this. Like this is just my advice to everybody. If you can't dev or don't want to dev, you just find somebody else that you work with who can do it, because these are available. And sometimes we have to be our own advocates for our own org. Like nobody's going to come in from sales basically fix it for you. And so I had to go pick the brains of like Terry and many people inside Salesforce to kind of put the parts and pieces together that we could do this ourselves, because nobody's going to come in under that SLA and say, hey, you know what? You can go use Pedro's tool and do some really cool things under the hood, right? Or use Mohan C's tool and do some cool things, right? So
and they're not even allowed to say all of that. They're not even allowed to use non-sales. They're not even allowed to recommend that, even though that might be the best option. Like
no, and even if they get yelled at by executives, because that happened in my company where it was like, you guys sold us all that. So this is, I'm just going to lay it out there because it's so important for everybody to know. And so Antonio, if your like CEO is still on here, because I'm not trying to bash CEOs, but this is what happens. The CEO buys all these things, or the C-levels or the VPs say, oh, we want sustainability cloud, and we want sales cloud, and we want this cloud and that cloud, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you have a traffic problem with all your data, and then you've got CPQ running on top of it, and then you go back to Salesforce and you say, hey, you sold us all this stuff, now you got to help us manage it, and they're like, SLA, right? We're not going to help you. And so everybody who works with data has to be prepared for this scenario, because we're not going to buy less stuff from Salesforce in the future, right? And neither are your executives. So you might think that's a bad idea, but somebody else in your company may decide tomorrow to add something that's a huge data hog, right? And takes up a lot of space. And so I think like we should, with our group, go over how transactional versus external data, what is the asynchronous versus the bulk API, you know, and then there's like, there's the REST API and the versioning, you know, it just
metadata API. There's so much power from like a DevOps. I just put a quip link because my whole life is in quip. But anyways, I put a quip link there. If you can use curl. So curl, I'm a huge fan of it. It's literally on every platform in the world. Like you name it, it's a command line curl. I think of it for APIs, but it's basically to transfer things across the internet. That's what it's used for. But the syntax is really simple, and all you have to do is you can get like a little Chrome plugin to get your cookies, and then you get your session ID from that cookie. You like click a button, get that, and then you can use that session ID on the command line and literally copy and paste the commands I have there with that, and then you get the raw output. I mean, you can even, there's just a basic query parameter in the API where you can pass a SACL query on the command line and get output of all those rows. This is kind of like, I think it's really good. Like if you don't have Workbench, or if you don't use Workbench and you really want to get proficient with it on the command line to do with like batch files or whatever, this would be a good way to do that. And there's a ton of examples in that thing I just posted. So. Man, I love that. I love this stuff.
I've been scared of curl, but I need to use it more. To be honest with you.
Pedro, see what you started?
Yeah,
this is all Pedro's fault.
Yeah,
he opened the door to API.
I'm telling you, 2 months ago, or even less than 2 months ago, I had nothing, right? I had just an idea, right? And I sat down, look at the API, start informing myself, and I just put all of this together, right? So yeah, it's it's all that you need to do something like this. It's out there, all documented. You know, all the API calls available are out there. If you like Curl, you like Python, you know, whatever, you can do it. So yeah, I mean, again, like 1 month, a month and a half, I had, this didn't exist, right? Not even a single function. So yeah, it's good. So yeah. If I can do it, anyone can do it, for sure.
It's been the best data tribe ever. Just gonna say it.
Okay, let's move on. Ludmila, you want to present or say something?
I don't have anything to present. Sorry, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have anything to present. I pasted a couple of links on the chat, and I can paste them again as they're like a little bit crammed. I worked for Atrium. It's a consulting company that has actually a very wide range of offerings with Salesforce, Tableau, Amazon, AWS, Snowflake. Like, they do a lot of things. It's not just Tableau CRM. I am in the analytics team. Love the company. I've been with this company for 7 months now, and honestly, I already feel more part of the team and the coach and the integration than I did in a company that I worked for 5 years. So even though this company, everyone is remote, they do a great job to include you and feel, make you feel part of the team. They're growing a lot. There are a lot of opportunities. So I figured, I would just share with you guys here, because that's how I even got to become analytics consultant, was through these meetups. Sayatani was actually good inspiration, and I figured I would just share the opportunity with more people. So the company website is atrium.ai. Just go to careers, and if you have any questions, you can get in touch with me to learn more about the company. I'm going to post again here the link. Just 1 second. And that's it.
Hey, I'll take more contributions. Load us up on links. It doesn't matter if you have a fancy presentation. Knowledge is knowledge.
Yep, always. Okay, thank you, Ludmila, for sharing that. On to Geoff.
Dun, dun, dun. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see this okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. So it's so funny, like, I think for Sayantani, I think what I'm going to show you guys has changed like 5 times in the last week, but because like new cool stuff just keeps coming out. But what happened over the weekend is I get to work on, Monday, and I'm like, wait, or just upgraded this past weekend. I thought it was another weekend. So we've got collections. So I'm here to talk to you about a couple of things, collections that are coming out. I think we've got about, let's see, I'll try to make it 10 or 15 minutes so we can have questions.
Is this a safe harbor, Geoff?
Well, is it? I can't keep track of all that stuff. We'll pretend.
I don't want you to get in trouble at work for sharing everything you share if something changes. So
I think that this, since it's in your sandbox orgs already, that we're fine, I believe. Is it? We'll figure it out. So safe harbor.
Well, at times it doesn't come in sandbox, but it does come in the final version. So.
Oh yeah, well this one's out. The one of the devs on that is Joey Lamondo, and I just talked to him. And the PM is Behzad Ritchie, and Vaibhav is the architect on this. And I'm super excited about this. I'll show you just a little bit of a screenshot. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Oops. There we go. So this is what it looks like in the UI. So on the analytics home screen, both in runtime in Salesforce and in the analytics studio, on the left-hand side, you're going to see this little area over here called collections. And the way that I think of collections is, you know, why should you care about this? Is it another feature? The problem I have is I have a landing page. I just had a TCRM landing page with all my links. And, you know, after a while, after you've been going creating dashboards, you know, how do you know what to curate? How to what you put in there and out? And since you know, you have to kind of drag and drop everything and not make it pixel perfect, but kind of when you're laying things out, you just it's not really easy to move things around and grow and scale when you're trying to share out best practice dashboards and Lens. So right now, my best solution was, okay, I had this landing page that I used for that. Best case now, though, I've got this ability to use collections that it's almost like a semantic way to, or logical way to group things in general. And then the second problem that I had, other than, you know, how do I easily scale all the links and stuff that I want to put in there is, you know, how do I crowdsource with my with the landing page for my group? You know, I don't want to give someone editor access to my, you know, to my main app just to add a link. I mean, that's crazy talk, right? You know, that's you're wanting them to do this much, and you have to give them all the keys to the kingdom. So that's a problem there. How do you organically share links with each other and crowdsource those, and especially across different groups? Like I'm on the solutions engineering side in the Americas for, you know, our enterprise group. So I think it's like 5,000 or 10,000 employees. If I can't remember the number, always forget, and it changes every year anyways. But, you know, we've got that group, and then we've got a groups based on HL, health, life sciences, financial services, retail, consumer goods. How can I share best practices dashboards across it? Because the SE role, it's the SE role no matter what company you're at, no matter what you're doing. People might think they're snowflakes, they're not. It's the same role. So we should be able to use the same dashboards and KPIs and measurements. So I was, you know, I'm really looking forward to this. And oh, I need to paste this. Let me paste this link really quickly in the chat room so you all can follow along. I set this to where you all, it has external access, so you all should be able to get to this quick document. I just pasted it in the group chat. Can everyone go ahead and try to do this? Because I'm gonna, there's gonna be a hands-on part in the second section too. So I just want to pause for like 15 or 20 seconds for everybody to go in there, paste that in their browser, and pull up the what I'm sharing.
Link works.
Okay. So I'm not going to go over it now, but here's just more in the summer release notes. Here's a link to those to talk about, you know, it more in depth. What are the limitations to them? I'm just going to tell you today, like in general, what are they? So what you can do is you can go there and create or click on the plus sign, and I'll show you this. I'll take you through this here in a second, and create a name. What I've done is I basically based my collection names on our Slack group names. We just moved from Google Chat over to Slack. And so I'm trying to, you know, Slack, there's like a bazillion different channels, and you have to have some kind of naming convention to keep everything organized. So I just kept that same naming convention. So the SOL stands for, besides a little, SOL, So besides that being intentional, it stands for solutions. It's a shortcut for it internally. So solutions for the Americas, for enterprise, and then this sub-industry, industrial products. There's probably 3 main industries under enterprise. And so I have one group called Main that's dashboards for everybody. And that's the one that we're looking at. So I have two or three dashboards and lenses that solutions engineers use all the time. And so what I did is I went up to add and added those here. One thing that's nice is you can click on the icon, left click, and drag it to quickly order it. I gave them feedback already that, you know, if you have 15 or 20 best practice dashboards, it gets pretty long. So I would love to see a list view, kind of like the same thing you can do now with assets inside, not Explorer, but inside the runtime, where you can either see the icons or the cards, or you can do list view with the kind of the metadata of the fields as columns. I begged / asked for that in the next iteration. So I think that's going to help out a lot. But you can drag and drop those, reposition those. So from a best practices standpoint, I think it's good to have kind of that main group here are the kind of the dashboards that are blessed for a different group. It might be Gobi-all hands or something like that, or then Gobi-dev, Gobi-sales. You might have different collections in there with dashboards, for different people. And Sayantani, I know you're going to ask me this. If this works I'll get your opinion afterwards, but I would love to see use cases for this in communities. That could be really interesting, like automatically set collections that are interesting for certain verticals. But anyways, I digress. So maybe that centralized group, centralized collection, and then your departments, like the industrial products group. It'd be nice to go in there and set access for them. And the good news is, just like you can share your folders, you can share to specific users or public groups inside Salesforce, or you can do the role hierarchy, roles and subordinates. So it works with this as well. So what I did here is I set the role hierarchy for the enterprise IP group. I set it to that SE leader. So it goes to that SE leader and all their subordinates. They're the only ones that can see this. Because if you think about it, anyone who has TCRM access, you saw, like I can create, I don't think that I don't know if there's a limit to the number of collections each person can create. 5 is the number I'm thinking of, and I don't remember what that is. I don't know if there's a limit of, I think that might be the limit to the numbers you can subscribe to and get updates on widgets. But anyways, I think it's going to be pretty easy for people to create those. So you can imagine there's going to be hundreds of these. And how do you keep them organized? Well, if you have the Einstein Analytics admin perm, you can pin them. So you can't see it now because I don't have the perm, and this is our production org inside Salesforce. I don't have that perm, but if you've got the admin access, what you hover over it on the right, and you'll see like a little pin button. You can click on that pin, and it'll pin it to where it always shows at the very top for the person who qualifies for that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this and show you an example of that. So here's the group I was talking about. This is my main group. I'm going to go look at the share button here. And this is same modal, same user interface as for apps and everything else. You've got that user, you've got group and role that you can choose from. And then you've got the 3 different access level controls. They can be a viewer, editor, or manager. So what I did is best practices is set for an entire organization, set it just to be nice to people. Set it, if it doesn't, even if it does matter to them, if they're outside of your group, don't make it show up on their screen. And it comes that way by default. So don't change it to view. Even if you think people might want to look at it, wait till your immediate org gets used to it, or else they're going to have to keep scrolling. It might make for a bad user experience. So I've got to always have 2 managers in case someone gets hit very softly by a bus. And that was a horrible joke. And then here's where I've got kind of our SE leader for the enterprise group. I used role and subordinates there. So that's kind of my main group. And then there's a shared group. And the target of that would be maybe different lines of businesses. Maybe you've got an analytics team on the sales side, on services side, in call center. Basically, anyone who cares about analytics internally in your company, you could create a shared group where you all can kind of share best practices around data sets. And it still respects the security that's built into it. So for example, if you've got it to where people can't actually see or get to a certain dashboard, it won't show up on here. So it still respects all the built-in security that you have. So I'm going to select this group that's my crowdsourced group. So this is the one where I don't want to try to maintain this on a static Einstein Analytics page. It's too much. It was what I was talking about, where you don't want to give them the editor access in an app folder, just be able to share something on one dashboard. This is going to be that solution. So when I go up to share and look at the permissions, I've got a public group that includes all, I think there's 5,000 SEs worldwide at Salesforce. So all of those SEs have editor access there. So they can go and add dashboards to the screen. And then, entire organization. Okay, I just broke my rule. I'm going to change that to none. change it back to none because I don't want to flood them with this. So I've got manager access, and it's nice since I've been doing this. I put the first 8 or 9, but then other groups you can kind of see here where there's health and life sciences. They have their own. They put their landing page in here. Let's see. The UK and IT, they put their landing page. Retail and consumer goods, they put a dashboard that they have there. And that way they can tell someone there's one place to go here. And one thing that's, it's all, I think with TCRM, you just always have to, like, I always hope that whatever feature comes out gets its own specific URL. That way you don't have to tell people, click here, they click there, they can click there, you can just send them the URL. And the good news is, if you see this, it's, domain name /analytics/home/collection/ and then the ID of that specific collection. So if I want to share something with this, I can literally go there and paste that. Someone say, hey, go take a look at this. This is for you. Obviously, the other thing you could do too is you could, let me think, actually. No, I think actually, no, that is still the best way to do that, because this share button isn't actually sharing, it's the share permissions. And then once you put dashboards in here, you can add them from the collection itself. So you can click on add and start searching. I'll type in landing page, and it's pretty good. You can see you can see the icon. Is it a lens? Is it a dashboard? I'm going to click on the plus icon to add it. And this is a pet peeve of mine, but I'm always saying, give me all the fields possible. And they did. We've got a good group of metadata to go on to know what it is that we're adding, because everybody has some page called landing page, right? And then the other way is to just kind of organically, you're going through navigating the home page. Let's say that you're here and you notice, hey, I want to add this dashboard. You can go here, and now you'll see a new option here that says add to collection. And then you can add to the collection, and then, CSG just created one. That's kind of fun. Did you all see that literally just showed up in the last 30 seconds? I'm not kidding.
Yep, it did.
Oh my God, it's going viral. We're up to 5. So you can add the collection and do it from there, or you can remove it from collection. I want to
other thing
pause there.
I was just playing with this like 5 seconds ago. The other thing is, if you go back to collections and you want to create a new collection and you want something, say 5 dashboards from a specific app. So you can click on the name of the app. It opens in a new tab, and you can select whatever dashboards you want from there and put it back in the collection.
Ooh, wait, say that again. Do you want to share real quick?
Sure, I can.
Okay, yeah, go share that and then we'll come back, because that sounded really fun, but I don't want you to have to repeat yourself.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just created this, but let's create something called summary dashboards. And I can change the color to this, summary, save. So now I have this, I click on add, and then I search for a summary, and you'll see way too many things coming up, right? So I want to take the ones which are in flagtail. So if I click here, it opens in a new tab and it takes you directly there. Now here, if I look for summary, all of these come up.
Gotcha.
So all I need to do is add to collection and summary.
Yep.
And when I go back, cancel, there it is.
Will you humor me? Go up to add for a second. Will you click on add and then tell me can you type in summary then tell me if you can click on the column headings, because that would be an even better shortcut. Can you click on app? Let me take a screenshot. Boom, because your use case is awesome, and that would make it even easier.
Mm-hmm. If I can sort it by app, it'll make my life so much easy.
Yep, my screen just froze. This is not good. Oh, man. No, don't do this to me, computer.
Do you want me to send you a screenshot?
No, my screen is frozen. Can I talk you through something walking through my next section, or can I kind of talk you through?
Sure.
You can photo, because I know we're getting close to the hour, but I'm literally frozen to death. But I've done this enough now to where I can just I'll try to do it by memory. Bear with me. Can you bring up the next thing we're going to do? If you scroll down in my document to the second section, is we're going to create a dashboard / lens with all the assets that you've created. And the main reason to do that is because, as you see at the home screen, we're not to the point where you can click on headings and quickly find what you've created really easily in one little table, just one table view. It's kind of spread all over the place, and you can't click and sort, and it takes me too long to find things. So what I did is I created, an EA direct query that will go ahead and get me all of those assets. And the good thing about that is, first of all, it's really quick to do. And then secondly, when you go to add mass actions to that, let's just say that you've got last viewed date or last modified date, and you've got all these dashboards from 3 years ago that it was for a project. You don't even care about it anymore, but it's like trashing your view. The search words come up and it's annoying, blah, blah, blah. You can go in there and hopefully in the future do a mass action to batch delete those from this table. So Saintani, I am flying blind. I'm going to trust that you are clicking on this. The first thing I would do is go to the home, kind of the home tab, and then do create dashboard.
Okay, let me try something real quick before I do that. Where's this? Nope.
Okay, let me just
log in.
Back. I think I might be back.
Awesome. If you are, that will be great.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Hold on. Yes, we can.
Okay, yay. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and do the whole Martha Stewart, show you the end product, and then we can build it. So what I've got here is I've got that EA direct query on the lens object in Salesforce that everybody has. And then I've got I basically said, give me all the fields, and I can organize them over here. That way here, as you can see, I've got the types. I can see lenses, dashboards, and you can see for the ones that are lenses, it'll tell you the visualization type. So if you want to see, hey, show me every matrix, you can go do that. Last modified date, last viewed date. You can sort by folder. It's got the developer name. It's got all those cool things that Pedro just showed us and Jen was talking about, like getting under the hood. It's got all that stuff that you don't get to see in the UI. Your state version.
We're all on the grid together. We're all thinking the same thing. We're just doing it like 5 different ways.
Exactly,
Right,
exactly.
Yeah, that reminds me, I should show you how to do it in Workbench as well. But anyways, so this state version is just the API version. I think we're up to 52 internally right now. Then lens version, I don't think I've ever had anything past a 1. Current history ID is going to show you the ID. Pedro was talking about how you can have different version history of a dashboard or a data flow. It's going to tell you the latest one here. Date version, I've never messed with that, but I wonder if it has to do with the whole GMT capability. So all of this greatness here. Let me look at one more thing, because I also created, here's sample asset. I took it one step further. I know we've got 2 minutes left, but what I did is I went ahead and created another EA direct query. So you've got that same table of things, and you can see the different types. Well, looky here, look what shows up. Guess which is harder than heck to find, because it's spread out across apps, components. And I was going to show you all about components today, but I ran out of it. Well, actually, I just want to show you the other 2 because they're really cool. But now you can see in one place all the components in your entire org. So it's showing me here's the actual name of the components, and developer name, all these kind of things you might or might not care about, different versions of it when it was last viewed. So dashboard snapshots. I think that's pretty cool. Lens snapshots. You kind of wonder, where are those notifications? When you click on notification, where's that actually exists, and that exists in the lens object. And you can see the notification config and what it's associated with. but that's cool. And so here's how you do it. I'm going to try to run through this really quickly. You all, in your whatever environment you're in, go ahead and click on the home studio and then do create, and then dashboard, blank dashboard, and then click on create query, and then click on the Salesforce Direct, and then type in Lens, L-E-N-S, and then go ahead and select that. The other fun one to try after this is EdgeMart, which, you know, it is what you think it is. It's just got different metadata. So what I would recommend is, you know, go ahead and call this, you know, Geoff's assets or my assets or whatever you want to do. And then what I would do here now is go on the filter tab, and you'll want to find out your user ID. This is going to be the quickest way to do it, is go into Chatter, or I just type in my name here at the search bar and then click on it when it auto filters and comes up. Go ahead and copy this 18-digit field and go back. And you know how, like, if you've used EA Direct and you've got a large org, you know that there's minimal chance that you're going to be able to probably get your ID on the first try. So I'm going to filter based on who created this, created by ID. And then, you know, if I go to paste mine, it's not going to find it, just because of the reason I was telling you about. There's 6 bazillion users. So I'm just going to pick the first one there and click on apply, and then click on done. And then it's going to take me back to the main dashboard. And if you're on a Mac, hit Command E. If you're on Windows, hit Control E and go to the JSON. And then under the hood, you'll see created by ID. And then just copy and paste yours underneath there, your 18-digit ID, and then click on done. And then drag and drop oh shoot, sorry. I'm going to go back. Go ahead and do a table. And then drag and drop it on there. Okay, what am I missing? Oh my gosh, I literally just forgot what I was doing. Let me try this again. Oh, I didn't, oh my God, I didn't, sorry you all, I didn't switch over to a values table. I'm like, what the heck? Click on this and then click on values table. And that's where you'll get to pick all the fun little fields here. Let's just go crazy and add everything. There's 26 fields. Why not? Because we can. And then I'm going to move master label is really like what we think of as the name field. I'm going to move that up to the top. And then I think created date's interesting. You can kind of scroll through there. I think folder ID is interesting. Last view date, modified date, but especially, wait, visibility. What? Okay, how did I miss that? That should be really fun. Let me go see what that is. Okay, and then let's go ahead and update this.
So Geoff, how do we reach EdgeMart and Lens? Because most of us don't have access to them, even though we are admins.
Wait. So
and we did speak to Ed about this.
Wait, if you go to, because
we don't get to see.
If you go to Salesforce Direct, and then when you do Salesforce Direct and type in Lens, it doesn't show anything?
Nope. It used to show EdgeMart about 2 releases ago. It doesn't show EdgeMart anymore either.
Is that because you have access to SO objects? Super objects or whatever?
I have access to all objects. I'm a system admin for,
let me ask those of you on the call. So everybody that's going through this, and if you haven't, can you please hop on really quickly, because I didn't know this was an issue. But if it is, this is a massive issue, because that really sucks. So for those of you that went through and you're doing Salesforce Direct, when you type in Lens, do you see anything?
Anyone typing in Jen?
I know, I'm just gonna shamelessly call on people.
I'm leaving Evan to do this part because I'm picking up my kids. Sorry, I've got you guys on the go.
Okay.
Being a good parent today.
Let me see.
I get nothing.
That's because we don't use direct, we're using the SQL queries.
But I wonder, like, oh, this is so confusing to me. This should be, I mean, this is should be in every org. Let me see what the,
It would only work though if you were using it, right, Geoff?
no, because it is the,
I thought you had to
this is
turn it
where-
on.
this is where everything in Einstein Analytics is stored. Like, this is the, I mean.
Yep. I remember Ed telling something, but not exactly what he mentioned, because I remember till 2 releases ago, EdgeMart would work, and we have
That's
users in our
right.
platform who would just open the dashboard and they would see when the last data set was updated. And I would never get a question for the last 6 months. I'm always getting a question as, when did this data flow last update? Because nobody has access to it anymore.
Oh my God, that is the saddest thing I've heard in a long time. That's not cool. I have to dig into this, because there's so many, like you all were talking about, there's so many really good ways to, to kind of, to see and kind of explore and see what things are. Otherwise, now you'd have to go through back to Workbench and use, SQL query. Shoot.
Correct. And Prabhat just said he's also a system admin, and he also doesn't get to see EdgeMart outlets. Same thing. I know Johan had pointed this out, and I don't remember what Ed's question was. We can always ask him. Ed's answer was,
yeah, that's because that's really messed up. I mean, I have like 0 permissions on Org62. I almost have like anti-permissions. I can only do SQL on the dashboard. So I wonder why Org62 is good. Well, I guess we'll table this, but okay, that would have been really awesome.
Yeah, but this is awesome. We can do this. It is awesome. Just that we need access to that object.
Yeah, I now I want to know which objects that you can't see, because I mean, I use this for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, even we want to. I do not want questions every day morning or middle of the night asking someone asking me when did the last data set run or the last data flow run.
Well, I will take, I'll take that as a to-do. Man, I feel like I need, okay, since that's like the saddest news ever, I'm going to show you some fun news. With here at home, we've got that semantic search that just came out. So now you can type in, show me how many records or how many customers have blah, 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 for current fiscal year or whatever. And the chances of it finding that out of like hundreds of data sets, the chances of it finding it just with the normal ML was like next to none. So what we have now is, I'll just show you, activity records by owner for current fiscal year. Okay, I'm going to go here and kind of let that, I'm going to click on the little magnifying glass.
Is this Autonomous Insights?
Yep, exactly. I couldn't remember what the name was. I thought it was semantic search, Autonomous Insights. That's
I
right.
was going to mention it, but I didn't know how many people are involved with like that pilot, or if you can talk about it.
Yeah, you can totally talk about it now. In summer, you're going to be able to go here, and the thing that I want to show you about is you can.
Tony, put a pin in that one too. That's something we need to talk about, because you can find data stuff like.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, you're going
to.
You
don't have to create a dashboard. Come on.
So what you could do is, did you see what I did? It's called scope hints. Did you see what popped up? I typed in dataset : and then I'm typing in the name of it. And the one that I'm telling you, I beta tested this for the past year with them, and it never found it. And now that I can use these scope hints, it gets it immediately. So for current fiscal year, oh, that's cool. And if it sits there long enough, it goes away. I didn't know that. That's kind of fun. Okay, so SE activity, so it's my first hit. This is actually the dashboard I want. So that's perfect. So I'm going to do expand query to return all data. And I'll go ahead and click on the magnifying glass to start getting insights. So it's guessing what I want. And I'll show you this here at the top, but at the bottom you get search results, but you also get 5 things related to your insights. So what's cool is it's looking through the reports I've used, the operational analytics reports, but also TCRM dashboards and lenses. And these are all things that I use on a daily basis. I have 760 dashboards, 760, and it picked the 5 that I use the most. That for me is amazing. 91% confidence level. You tell us how we did here. From this lens that it pulled up, you can explore it, but you can also get even more accurate. So it's saying fiscal year. So I click on this little blue highlight there. And if that's not what I want, I could do, it says relative date. I could do that, or I could say, okay, that's the wrong field. I actually want to do, the activity date. So I can go here and select activity date, and that makes it more accurate. You can see it turns green because it knows what you're talking about. Then I click here and it says current, date modifier. That's wrong. So, I'm going to say don't use current, and it gets rid of that. It basically ignores that. So then you can say owner, and it's like, so which field, what do you mean by owner? And I'm going to do owner name, because see how it has on the left-hand side here, it has some just weird the owner name. And then you can go through and clarify and get exactly what you want. So then by now I've got this grouped by the activity type and the owner. And I can reverse it around and have maybe the owner and then activity type. And I'd probably, I would just explore this. The other thing is there's ability, I haven't figured out the syntax because this literally just came out, but actually let me cheat here for a second. I'm just going to look at it so you all can take a screenshot. Data set. Okay. Autonomous data set, S object. Let me see if this is it. Oh, S object dash field. Let's see. Oh my God, they've already done the API for it. That's kind of fun. Okay, so I think it's, let me try this, S object dash field. I'm going to try, let's see, S object dash field. I don't know if this is going to work, but it's going to look something like this, where it's S object dash field colon, just like I do a data set, and then the field name. And I don't know the syntax right now. I'll have to take a follow-up on that and maybe put out a quick doc, or write a blog or something. But you're going to be able to put an S object name there, and then it'll show you all of the assets in your entire TCRM org that stem from that. So if you've got this just gigantic data flow and you want to see all the data flows or things that use the opportunity object, it's going to go ahead and and share all those dashboards that are based on that. I mean, it's going to be so freaking cool to be able to find things, and now everything's kind of merging. It's I also heard that they're working on bringing, this is a safe harbor, that they're working on bringing all of operational analytics, like reports and dashboards, the ability to search all of those and surface those up in the same runtime in Analytics Studio. So everything's kind of, it's kind of separate. Oh, I've got my operational analytics here, and then my, Einstein analytics over here. No, it's merging into one, kind of like data flow and data prep. So I'm really looking forward to that. And in the meantime, I'm gonna go back and kind of try to figure out that syntax and what we can do there and get that nailed down. Then I can, follow up with a little how-to after that, or put out a blog or something for you all, so you can start testing in Sandbox. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited
thank
about
you,
how
Geoff.
accurate this is.
Yep. Thank you so much. Just for everyone's sake, and because this is going to be hosted online, this is whatever Geoff has showed, everything is safe harbor. So for Salesforce, Geoff, you want to say that those terms of safe harbor, that purchasing decisions.
Yep. Don't make your purchasing decisions based on what you just saw. Make it on what's in the product today.
Thank you. Thank you. Pedro is no longer here, but thank you, Geoff, for showing this. This was awesome. And thank you, everyone, for joining.